Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of One Punch Man Season 1, Episode 6, The Terrifying City. So, this episode is probably one of my favorites, except for maybe the season finale, and another one, which I will get into later. But, basically, the plot revolves around... The episode starts off with Saitama basically sitting on his ass for almost a whole week, until Genos offhandedly mentions that Class C heroes are stricken from the rankings if they don't do anything for a whole week, because they need to be kept on a quota because there's like several hundred of them and they have to get rid of some where they can. And Saitama is freaking out because he didn't see anything on the news, and then Genos explains that the news only covers major things and that Class C heroes typically deal with smaller petty stuff like a perch snatcher and drunken brawls, that kind of thing. That's mainly what they deal with. So Saitama begins to bolt out of the room, but Genos stops him and asks him for training, which Saitama doesn't really have any plans because strength training is really all he's got. And he doesn't want to be shown up by Genos because Genos will get all the credit taken. But he does give him some advice, which he steals from the character the S-Class hero King, and he explains about how, and he basically talks out his ass about how strength training won't work for Genos because he's a cyborg, but that he should instead work on improving his mind, and that he should aim for the top 10 Class S heroes and join them. Which Genos buys, and then Saitama leaves, and then Saitama runs around for a whole day looking for bad guys to the point where he actually gets tired. I mean, Saitama has a high amount of stamina because of his strength training, but he actually exhausted himself to the point where he got tired in this episode, which is interesting. I mean, he gets over it pretty quickly because he's Saitama, but still, the fact that we actually see him get physically tired in this episode is kind of amazing. And then he resigns to go back to his apartment because it's late, and decide to check out some villain activity tomorrow. And then it fast forwards to the next day, and it's still quiet. There's nothing. And he's kind of freaking out because he's gonna lose his job. And then Sonic shows up and tries to fight him, but Saitama tries to decline, and for a moment can't even remember his name because he's busy and trying to find somebody to fight. But Sonic is having none of it and attacks him with his sword, which Saitama shatters with his teeth, and says to get out of his way or he's going to get punched. And then this little girl shows up with this hero, Tank Top Tiger, and basically points in their general direction and says that he saw a man, that they saw the guy all over the day, and that he was a bad guy. And at first Saitama thinks they're talking about Sonic, but then finds out from Tank Top Tiger that he's actually the one responsible. And then he freaks out because he's like, and it turns out that basically what happened was, in his blind panic to find a bad guy, he actually startled some civilians, and Tank Top Tiger tells him off for it because it hurts the reputation of everybody else. And then he tries to fight Saitama to boost his rankings and all that and make him look good, but Sonic shows up, throws explosive shurikens at Tank Top Tiger. Tank Top Tiger is out cold for the rest of the episode. We never see him again. And then Sonic gives his opinion about how he thinks heroes are worthless and that and then decides that since Saitama is a hero, he should create a situation where Saitama is forced to fight, and then proceeds to just become a terrorist. And that's the last we see of him for the episode. He's just... the last thing we see of him on the screen is him becoming a terrorist, and to the point where he almost crushes a kid with a car by accident, blowing up all this stuff. And Saitama stops the car with his bare hands and says, I don't have time for this. I need to find a villain to fight. Then he realizes Sonic counts as a villain because he's turned into a terrorist and knocks him into the ground. And it makes its way back to the Hero Association, who state that City Z has always have problems, and also that they had an inquiry done about City Z, about an abandoned part of town where Saitama lives. And then S-Class hero Tatsumaki, the Tornado of Terror, who is very full of herself because she's the second most powerful S-Class hero and has psychic powers on top of that, to the point where she can basically bend steel with her mind. That, like, she can knock an entire starship out of the sky, which we will see later. And she states, why wasn't I called in to handle this? Why didn't you send me? And she almost kills Bearded Worker by accident because she's upset because he said something he shouldn't have about how, we didn't think we should have involved you. What? Did you think I wasn't good enough? And then this one girl walks in and is like, no, that's not it at all. We just felt it wasn't a Class S matter, that's all. And Tatsumaki leaves in a huff. She's upset because they didn't send her out, because she could have handled it herself. Which I believe, because she's powerful. She's probably the second most powerful character, the third most powerful character introduced in the series. Maybe even second. We've never actually seen any, but we don't actually see a lot of characters until the very end of the season, but she is one of the more powerful. And then the scene, and then it cuts the commercial where the commercial would be. There's a little eye catch, and then it goes back of Tornado, and then it goes back to the scene in the Heroes Association where all the different heroes are giving reports about different town locations, and nothing have anything to report except for Snack from the last episode, who sees the reformed Hammerhead standing outside in a suit and tie getting ready for an interview and thinks it's suspicious. So that's kind of funny. The fact that Hammerhead has done a complete 180 from when he started off as a villain and is now trying to actually get a job is kind of cool. I like that. Nice touch. Shows that Saitama is in fact touching the people around him and helping them become better people. I like that. And then they end on the inquiry, in which they send best friends and A-Class heroes Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio, who, despite being completely different from one another, are somehow best friends. I don't understand that at all, but it's kind of funny. So they attack. So they wander around the street and get kind of close to the apartment, which Genos picks up on. They're wandering around the street, wondering what kind of monsters would live there, and remarking how City Z has had a lot of monsters show up in the past 10 years, and it's been increasing steadily, which disturbs both of them. And they say that if they find the source of it and take it out, that they could be boosted up to their rankings by a lot. And they eventually do encounter the monster, a creature called Combo Infinity, which is probably one of my favorite monsters in the series. I like him a lot. Or is it a she? You can't really tell. But basically what happens is Combo Infinity shows up, and it is looking for the Monster Den 2, because it heard that there was a bunch of powerful monsters getting together and that it was from out of town. And Golden Ball tries to shoot with with the shape memory golden bullets, which is how he got his hero name in the first place. The monster Combo Infinity dodges and then weaves in one of its tentacles underground, grabs him by the ankle, and flings him into a wall, and is defeated and knocked out for the rest of the episode. Actually winds up puts him in the hospital. And Spring Mustachio tries to avenge his fallen friend, pulls out his rapier, which turns into a little pocket square for whatever reason, and yeah, this is no ordinary sword. It can bend. It can bend like a spring, and it apparently has an infinite length of sorts. Like when he does his spring launching, is Tomboy thrusts, I think is what the signature move is called. It goes for like a block and keeps going until it hits something, which is odd. It's odd, but it makes sense in this kind of world because there's like, it's like in a world where people can just randomly turn into monsters, it's not that far-fetched. So, and he's able to hold off the monster for quite a bit until he's almost defeated to the point where he has to call in reinforcements, and heroes all over the place are called in to stop the monster until they're too late and Spring Mustachio is eventually defeated. But then Saitama starts waddling up with a grocery bag and remarks how he forgot to buy kombu stock and then which he says as he's being attacked by Kombu Infinity, and Saitama just knocks all of its tentacles off in a single punch, and actually destroys the building, which causes a huge plot point in the episode. Kombu Infinity lives, but to see another day, by the way. He's not dead. It's not dead, and it's one of the few monsters Saitama fights that doesn't die in a single punch, but. But then everybody is upset. Like, everybody's freaking out because they think it's some super huge powerful monster. Heroes, civilians, and even monsters alike are terrified. Even Class B hero and Tatsumaki's little sister, the Blizzard of Hell, Fubuki, she's even terrified of this thing, and she doesn't even have a major plot point for the rest of the season. So this is the last we'll see of her for this season, and she'll probably be more relevant in season 2 if they keep going with the manga, which I think they will. But even she's terrified of this thing, and to the point where nobody wants to live in, where everybody's just terrified, and all because Saitama accidentally broke a building and stole the kombu from the monster. And Genos also remarks how kombu can grow hair because he did some research, and Saitama is getting more and more peeved at him because he never said anything about regrowing his hair. He just bought some, and he also lies about where he got the kombu, by the way. He said that he got it for really cheap, even though we know what happened. That's not actually what happened. And they also discuss how about popularity polls and all that kind of stuff, how people can be ranked by different aspects and all that stuff, and how Genos is ranked last in S class because of power, but he's number 6 in terms of popularity, which is kind of cool. And that's where the series ends. So this does a lot. This brings in a lot of major characters for down the road. For example, it brings in the character Tatsumaki, Fubuki, and King, all of which are going to become more relevant in season 2. I'm guessing. I don't know what their plans are for season 2, but I'm assuming it has something to do with it's going to follow the lines of the manga, but I'm not entirely sure on that. And there's a lot of scenes that they added to make this episode better, because in the manga, if they didn't, it would be probably one of the worst episodes, because without those scenes, it's just kind of like 2 little mini episodes back to back. Because this episode is in an odd place, and I know why and I can see why they did that, because it wouldn't be good otherwise. It would be a lot worse than it was, and I understand why they did that. They made the executive decision to fix it, to fluff it up, make it better than it actually was, and I liked it. I do like that it establishes that Saitama and Genos live in an abandoned part of town where nobody lives, simply because the rent is cheap and Saitama is able to hold his own against the monsters that live there. So there's no real reason for him to move. I like that. That's funny. And I also like how he has unmeasurable strength. And yet he got tired. I like that as well. But I think I'm going to just leave this review here, because that was because I've discussed everything I think I need to discuss. I mean, we've discussed that yes, they brought in some major characters, which are going to become relevant later. Yes, they brought in a monster, which establishes that why Saitama lives in the abandoned part of town where he does. And they've pretty much established that Saitama can get tired. I mean, he has a limit. I mean, it takes a long. It took a full day of running to get to that point. So we'll probably never see him get tired ever again. But the fact that he can get tired is kind of funny. But anyway, that's my take on Season 1, Episode 6. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up and tell me what you liked about this review, or give me a thumbs down and give me some constructive criticism. But until next time, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, hit that like and that subscribe button. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.